Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the new Superman movie directed and written by James Gunn. This is one of the most anticipated movies of 2025, and not just because it's a superhero film, but because it promises to breathe new life into an entire cinematic universe. DC and Warner have faced some challenges in the past when it comes to following a creative direction, but now things seem to be different. When James Gunn took over, there was a huge amount of trust in his work. The expectation is that he will finally be able to give the DC universe a clear direction, starting with this film, Superman. What's cool is that this movie not only brings James Gunn's vision to the character, but it also needs to spark interest in this emerging universe. It's almost like an invitation for the audience to go to the theater and embrace this new phase. David Corenswet, who plays Superman, really surprised me. He is excellent in the role. Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan, also stands out incredibly in this film. She's not just the journalist who gets involved with Clark, but a protagonist in an investigation that will have a huge impact on the story. However, at a certain point, the film focuses a lot on Superman's personal story, but then when it needs to deal with geopolitical issues and a super evil plan, it ends up getting a bit lost. It's as if it tries to take on too many characters and subplots, and because of that, it loses a bit of its strength. When you think of Superman in the movies, it's inevitable to remember the different eras. If we take the 70s as a reference, we have the Richard Donner era, which established the foundation of the first film, and also his version of Superman the second. Superman 3 and IV, on the other hand, stray a bit, leaning more towards comedy, but they cemented Christopher Reeve's image as the definitive Superman. That's why in Superman Returns, Brandon Routh was chosen not only to recreate scenes from Christopher Reeve's Superman, but also because he closely resembled the actor. By the way, let me know in the comments below, did you watch Superman Returns? Did you like it? Or do you think Brandon Routh is just a pretty face who looks like Christopher Reeve? Leave your comment below. With Zack Snyder, we saw a deconstruction of the myth with a darker and more violent vision. Now James Gunn is coming in to bring a new break and a repositioning. This Superman aims to recapture a more human essence. Clark's situation, his job, isn't explored as much as one might expect, but the duality between Clark and Superman, with Superman acting as a mediator for the world's problems, is very much present. When the film addresses these issues, it presents a complex geopolitical situation, and Superman truly intervenes, showing concern for all living beings, including non-humans. He values safety and positions himself as an accessible hero whom people can trust. David Corenswet will undoubtedly be this generation's Superman. It is believed that this is a long-term plan, unlike what has happened before at DC, where ideas were quickly abandoned. With James Gunn, the plan is to stick to it strictly, regardless of the initial reception. He was a great choice and handles vulnerability well, which is a crucial factor for this Superman, in addition to his protective instinct. This story about Superman's vulnerability is going to stir up a lot of controversy, but we'll be making some other videos to talk about that. Lois Lane also stands out, marking a definitive break from everything that's been done before. She isn't just a love interest, but plays an active role in the investigative process. For those who watched the series, the Best Superman series, and I'm not talking about Smallville, but about Superman as an established hero, which was the latest one made by HBO called Superman and Lois, with Tyler Hoechlin playing Superman and our beloved Lois Lane played by Bitsy Tulloch. It's a story where Superman already has children and is in the final stage of his career. I won't give any spoilers, but it's really worth watching. Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, is also an excellent choice. The setting and James Gunn's style are very apparent. However, in terms of development, the film has some structural issues. While it's a new Superman movie with a fresh take from James Gunn, it also needs to establish a universe, generate interest, and deal with several subplots, which end up being resolved in a very simplistic way. To put the synopsis in context, amid a conflict in Boravia and the threat of war, Superman, played by David Corenswet, tries to balance his routine as Clark Kent at the Daily Planet while facing public scrutiny that arises due to a scheme involving Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult. However, amid so much strategy, planning, and scheming, Lex ends up becoming perhaps the main victim of this script. James Gunn mentioned in interviews that Superman is a political film. In fact, there is a serious situation of war, the threat of invasion, and a military superpower facing an attempt at resistance. Superman is positioned as a moderating force and intervenes on certain occasions, which leads to questions in the media. With all this going on, some provocations arise. The first comes from Lois Lane, played by Raquel Brosnahan, with an interview that questions Superman's role as the mediator of all of humanity's problems. Then, we get to follow Lex Luthor's plans more closely. The work in the newsroom and the setting of the Daily Planet are very well done, and the newspaper has an investigative angle. I'm really impressed by the way the Daily Planet is portrayed in today's world, where you have YouTube, you have TikTok, and people under 30 or 40 years old are going to watch and see an environment where people used to meet up. There's a newspaper, there's a newsroom. I think the experiences are going to be quite different. It's even possible that someone who's 16 or 18 might ask what a newspaper is, right? Anyway, the film's direction is clear. Superman, with his optimism, is going to try to protect everyone no matter what happens. The city might be getting destroyed, and he'll save everyone, from a child to the most vulnerable person and even a dog. People feel protected, and the whole city is under Superman's protection. But when the geopolitical angle comes into the story with armed conflict, an invasion, and a border issue involving Lex Luthor, Superman's intervention ends up being set aside for a while. At this point, it's important to reflect on artificial intelligence and how it's transforming the way we interact with the world, just as Superman transforms the reality around him. If you're looking to understand and harness this power to boost your earnings, the Master Monetization with Artificial Intelligence mentorship is for you. In it, we teach you how to monetize, how to make money with artificial intelligence, including even creating a YouTube channel like this one, which is already monetized. Today, we manage 12 YouTube channels, 10 of which are monetized, and we use artificial intelligence as a lever to exponentially increase your sources of income, discovering how to make money online. And artificial intelligence only makes this easier and faster. If you're interested in building sources of income, making money using artificial intelligence to streamline the process, I'll leave the link in the video description and pinned in the first comment. I'll be very happy to help you. Continuing on, this Superman constantly shows vulnerability. He's far from being that invincible Superman, we all know. The movie draws a parallel to show a combat dynamic that puts him at a disadvantage, making him rely on external factors to recover, like the sun, and to form a partnership with Krypto. When it comes to public opinion, there's investigative work and the presence of the media, shaping a perception that can shift from positive to negative in the blink of an eye. But the real highlight is the presence of Mr. Incredible, played by Edi Gathegi, who became one of the biggest names in this film and has an incredibly strong presence. The choice of characters is very well done, the setting and the work are excellent, and when other characters like Mr. Incredible are introduced, the story presents them in a very interesting way. There are several other characters, but without a doubt, Mr. Incredible stands out for his significant impact. To keep this brief, but also to be fair, I'm gonna make two honorable mentions here. First, to Skylar Gisondo, who plays Jimmy Olsen, who is extremely funny, and also to William Reevy, who is related to Christopher Reevy, who even makes a special appearance in the film to, of course, pay tribute to our eternal Superman. Now let's talk about how the script is developed. There is an accumulation of many serious situations. The film constantly wants to put the city at risk, and Superman needs to protect everyone, even though he is vulnerable and needs time to recover. In fact, he is a very powerful Superman, and this is evident in the battle scenes, but he can also be imprisoned. The storylines that involve only Clark, Superman, or only Superman always have a pleasant development at the beginning when Lex Luthor is seen as the great threat. Until suddenly, everything that was being developed in parallel needs to be brought together. other characters, the geopolitical issues, media coverage, the investigative work of the Daily Planet, in other words, a lot of things. And their moment has come. You thought I was gonna forget. Among the highlights, in my opinion, one of the coolest aspects of this film is Krypto. In fact, if this movie needs $600 million to break even, I'm sure that just the sales of merchandise, products, and campaigns involving Krypto will easily cover that. He's the new Baby Yoda. The way the film directs attention to the Superman-Krypto dynamic is truly impressive. From his very first appearance, the partnership between them and how he's used for certain purposes is really creative. It was highly appreciated and is considered one of the film's successes. However, there was the lack of a major action scene featuring just Superman. Of course, there are fights, but that big Superman moment, you keep waiting for it and it never comes. Ultimately, the weight of establishing this universe comes into play. There are some more controversial issues regarding Superman's origin story that will spark excellent debates, which I'll bring up in upcoming videos. Superman has good actors, an established universe as its foundation. Maybe the problem with the Superman movie is that it tries to cram in too much. That was my analysis, and now I want to hear from you. Have you watched it yet? Are you planning to watch it? Did you like the movie? This video doesn't end here, right? Continues with us chatting in the comments. If you found this video interesting, I invite you to become a channel member and give this video a like. Up here on the right, I'll leave a video suggestion for you to keep watching with me. See you in the comments and in the next video. See you soon.